I need to address and clarify a couple of issues that were made. First of all, the gentleman representing the ACLU talked about packing District 5.
Cracking. I wrote that
No,
down.
no, the first one was packing, and I'll get to cracking in a minute.
Oh, okay.
It was hard for me to understand that, and especially from a representative of the ACLU, for the following reason. What they're basically saying is, I put too many black folks into District 5. Now, if they cited, for example, the registration data to say, well, look, black representation in the last election was 55%, and you're just looking at total population, which I got to 52%, and voting age, which I got to 50.3. Well, but the issue is, I'm not looking at creating a plan that will perform for the black community just in the next election. I'm trying to create a plan that performs for the community for a decade. And I know that this community is subject to some degree of gentrification. And so, to me, the most important thing is to put, the district in a position that complies with the Voting Rights Act. Now, let me give you an example of real packing so that you understand what the real concept means, which is not what was described today. And I'll give you a real-world example. When I was in the legislature and I was suing my own legislature for a violation of the Voting Rights Act, they took Hialeah, the most Hispanic city in the state of Florida, placed it in one district, okay? Now that district was overwhelmingly Hispanic and will elect a person of that community's choice. But if you took Hialeah, broke it into two, you could create two Hispanic majority districts with that population. And so when you put all of it into one, that's packing. And so for packing to be even a consideration, you have to show that you have enough excess population that you could have created a different district. And with 50.3% black population, I can't draw anything else but one African American district. So packing doesn't apply. Now let me talk about cracking. Cracking is when you intentionally divide a cohesive and compact minority community so as to defeat the ability of that minority community to form a majority in a single-member district. Now I'll use that same example of Hialeah. If I break Hialeah into four and put those populations into four separate districts, none of those districts has a majority Hispanic population. None of them have, in that community, an equal opportunity to elect a candidate of choice. That's cracking. Cracking in this case, with all due respect, in District 2, is simply inapplicable because District 2 is not the first district in terms of black percentage. It's not even the second. The second is District 1. It is the third at 7.5% black population. And so there is no way humanly possible that you could put that population anywhere based on our geography to create an African American district. So cracking also does not apply. And in that, I wanted to just give you some data. Of the 1,597 residents we moved from D2, only 7% are African American. So we actually moved more black citizens in the movement we did north of US 1 into D4 than in the movement we did south of US 1 into D4. And I'll finally say this. I saw two alternate plans presented. The difference between those plans and our plans is that our plan is based on the directives that you gave us. And so the alternate proposals, for example, they put up some criteria, had different criteria from what you gave me. Now, that does not mean that those plans aren't perfectly legally acceptable. And as a matter of fact, I have told you in previous hearings, there are thousands of ways to draw a constitutionally compliant plan. The difference between those plans and the plan that we presented was what was the criteria employed. And with that, Madam Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. How I'm going to conduct the remainder of this meeting is that I'm going to go to my vice chair. and then I'm going to go in order of the districts from 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to ask that we keep our comments, our first round of comments, to no more than 15 minutes. This is a Friday. Great. Okay.
What I'm most amazed at is that when we created districts from the get-go, and then the redistricting that has been done each decade, every 10 years, we have purposely divided neighborhoods in the other districts to try to keep District 2 into a district that a non-Hispanic would be elected. And that's why Coconut Grove was kept together. In fact, from the beginning, a big chunk across US 1 was given to Coconut Grove because there would not have been enough population to have balanced it out otherwise in District 2. Nobody objected to that at the time. Nobody objected to numerous neighborhoods in the city of Miami in having been divided. In fact, someone sent me recently on Silver Bluff some information on the history of it, which was interesting. This is from an old newspaper article, I believe. It says, Short History of Silver Bluff. Platted in 1941, incorporated in 1920, platted in 1911, and incorporated in 1921, the town of Silver Bluff was independent for a short period of time. It was one of several municipalities that was annexed by the city of Miami in 1925, nestled between Miami's original southern boundary and the town of Coconut Grove. Silver Bluff was named for the bluff located along the eastern edge of the quarter that appears silver when touched by morning light. And Silver Bluff is one of those communities that was split in half to be able to create a District 2 that would elect someone like Mr. Russell.
Japanese American.
I didn't hear, well, you didn't quite mention the Oriental part when you were running, only the yo-yo at the time. But I'll leave it at that. It was the, after you got elected that I guess it was more convenient. But Silver Bluff, Shenandoah, Little Havana. I mean, Little Havana has really been cut major. Little Havana goes to 37th Avenue. So from 27th to 37th Avenue, a huge area of Little Havana was cut off. You got Flagami, that not originally, but then when growth came in, Flagami was then cut in the second round, I think, after districts were originally created, down the middle. You got other neighborhoods within District 4, others within District 1, some in District 5. So the arguments that I've heard here today just don't hold any water. As this city grows in population, we have to make adjustments. And the adjustments have to be made in the best way to try to keep all 5 of these districts in proportion to our population for the reasons that we went into districts. You know, the Coconut Grove even has what no other community in Miami has, a village council. Do you have any councils in any of your neighborhoods, Commissioner Diaz? Commissioner King, do you have any councils there? Commissioner Reyes? I have none in District 3. But Coconut Grove even has that this commission here, Commission Pass, have given them. So, look, I only need from you for you to answer one question to me. In your honest, best opinion, and you've been the guy that really has been the real godfather in creating districts, because you've been putting them together for us very successfully each time that we've done it. Do you feel that this is a plan that would withstand any test in court?
Yes, sir. I am confident that it meets the requirements of the 14th Amendment, and I am confident it meets the requirements of the Voting Rights
Well,
Act.
Then, to me, that's all that I need to hear. We have held, unless my recollection faults me, 3 public hearings on this, and this day is already with you.
This is the 4th.
We're each going to have a 4th one in each of our individual districts, and then we agreed that March 11, we would have the final one. And, I mean, 5 meetings, is that sufficient for any federal test?
Commissioner, there is no constitutional or statutory requirement to have public meetings in redistricting. It is optional.
Well, 5, I think, in any one's mind, over a period of several months is a pretty sufficient amount of time. Now, I understand what I'm hearing. I understand that people that came here today, they want to have more hearings and more hearings. And what I've learned being up here a few years is that when you hear people trying to tell you that they want to have more hearings and more hearings, it's because they don't feel that they have the votes to accomplish what they want, and they want to accomplish by delaying it, because through delaying it, they've accomplished, in fact, what they want, not to get a vote done. And, you know, out of the people that were here today, there were only 10 people that spoke that were not from Coconut Grove. 6 out of those 10 were from other parts of District 2. 1 was from Edgewater, 1 was from Morningside, 1 from downtown, 3 from Brickell. There was 1 from District 5 that was very confused because they thought that the West Grove was being divided somehow, and that we were diluting the black population from District 5. There was 2 from Commissioner Reyes' district, but I don't know if I should count one of them, because that was Mr. Winker. And he's, an attorney looking for business. So I wouldn't be surprised if he be one of the ones that will be suing the city again. Then there was 1 from my district, and this gentleman lived, according to what he said, right in the area that is called West Brickell, is a strip of 2 blocks that parts of Brickell Avenue were put into District 3, but these were parts that had not been developed. Throughout the years, some of those blocks now are starting to be developed. And his complaint was that he wanted all of Brickell to be together, and that part should be with Brickell. And you know what? He probably had a real good point, the best that I've heard. And that's exactly the reason why you do not expand more, like Commissioner Russell wanted to, into Brickell, because it's got nothing to do. If there's a section that's got nothing to do with the rest of District 3 is when you go into Brickell. Totally different in your demographics, any which way you want to look at it. So we come back to the original plan you gave us. The original plan, I think you had 6,000 plus people from the Grove that were going to be moved into either District 4 or District 3. And you did, I think, a fabulous job in bringing that down to even less. You
Less than
listened-
3,000,
Yeah, now it's less than half that.
correct.
It's right around 3,000, correct?
2,900 and change.
2,900 and change. It's right under 3,000. And you kept, as we talked about up here and doing, the West Grove intact, because that's really a very small community. You're not talking about a large community. So I can understand a very small community like you divided, it has more of an impact on it than larger communities that have been divided. And you listened to Commissioner Russell and took Bay Heights out of it. As far as I'm concerned, you could put Bay Heights back on. In fact, you could take it all the way down to Simpson Park if you like. I got no problems with it. But that means you're going to put some additional people from the Grove into another district. I don't know if Bay Heights is really considered the Grove or not anymore, but I'm not going to get into that here. So I think that you try to accommodate as much as you could everything you heard from us here and what you heard from the public. That we have to go deeper into District 2. Well, when before this, District 2 had 116,742 people. In the other districts, one had almost 81,000, mine had just over 79,000, District 4 had almost 82,000, and District 5 had slightly over 83,000. The thumb that really stuck out there was District 2. And you brought that down by 23,442 votes, and you're leaving them at 93,300. If you want to even it out more, I'll take another chunk. I'll take Bay Heights, and I'll go all the way to Simpson Park. I got no problem, Commissioner. And I'm sure that Commissioner Reyes wouldn't have any problem in bringing it down more, maybe even going across and taking the whole North Grove out. And, you know, it'd still be fairly balanced. But his plan was taking into account what he heard from the public as much as he could and what he heard from you. So from over 6,000 is down to 3,000. Yeah. And we can't go anywhere else. Even if we would want to go in District 3 in your plan, going to West Brickell, which is really Brickell, it just doesn't have Brickell Avenue, the name and the road. Then what happens to Reyes? Well, Reyes is going to have to come take more from me or more from Diaz or Portilla. And that's a domino effect that you have that will then affect everyone, including District 5. And that's why we can't do that. But anyway, I'm ready to vote on this, but that's my opinion.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm also ready to vote. Number one, I want to commend you, Mr. DeGrande, Mr. Cody, for the work that you've done. Your first plan had a few holes in it. Your revised plan looks really good. It has one, for lack of a better term, hole. I think that you're overpopulating District 2. And I believe that 4 years from now, maybe 6 years from now, we're going to have the same problem before we can get to redistricting again. So we'll have a district that's represented by a commissioner with many more people. For example, Right now, in District 2, we have 93,000, and in District 5, we have 83,000. There's a 10,000 vote difference, 10,000 vote population difference, and that concerns me.
It's just less than 7,000.
Well, it's 83 to 93 according to
No,
the
no,
numbers.
it's District 5 will be now 86,578.
86, okay.
86,578.
It's still a concerning number, right? I think in an attempt, and I think a noble attempt, to make sure that you respected as much as you could of the integrity of the grove, as they call it, as the grove calls it, you restored 40% of what you had taken out in the first plan. I think it's
Over
fair-
50%.
Over 50, even worse, even over 50%. I agree with Commissioner Carroy that we probably should have gone more into the grove, because that's the only place to go, right? I mean, I'm in the middle, District 1 is in the middle, you have 3 and 4, you can only go south. But somehow, Grove residents feel they're not part of Miami, that no other commissioner can represent them. For whatever reason, you guys can explain that to us at some appropriate time, why you feel that a Commissioner Carroy or a Commissioner Reyes or a Commissioner Diaz-Labotilla cannot adequately represent you. If I were a Grove resident, I would love to have 3 commissioners representing me. I have 3 people fighting for me. My God, can you imagine that? 3 out of 5 will be fighting for you instead of 1 out of 5. But that's just math, and maybe you guys are not understanding how the math works with a 5 commissioner body. To me, I think the work that you've done is commendable. It's fantastic. I think it hits it. I'm a little bit concerned about the overpopulation of 2, but I, like Commissioner Carroll, I'm ready to vote. And I'm also ready, Madam Chair, when you are ready, to make the motion to move this plan forward as the final plan for the City of Miami Commission Redistricting, and put this behind us and just get on with our work. Whenever you're ready, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Russell?
Thank you very much. I'm not quite ready to vote. I have some questions for Mr. DeGrande. And you know, in the last meeting, I made a motion that failed for a second, where I asked for us not to break up the Grove. And I really thought about that later, and I realized that was the right vote. And as people came to me and what you heard the passion today, my response to them, as I've spoken to people individually, is we are not entitled to stay together. There is no right of the Grove to stay cohesive. It is the wish. You can see the passion, you can see the interest, and you can see a cohesive voter bloc here. You can see a group that is definitely governed by a different set of rules for tree preservation, historic preservation, development, setbacks. All of the Grove does have a special set of rules that has come about because of their voter bloc cohesion. But there is no right to it. So when I didn't get a second, and then the next vote said, if you have to, go into the Grove, I understand that. And so what I've been telling people is, if we have to, we must accept that the Grove would be split up. If there is no way to legally equalize the districts without going into the Grove, we should accept that gracefully as residents of the City of Miami. I would like to ask you some questions, Mr. DeGrande, because I've tried to cobble together some of the ideas and to see if there's a way to meet the interests of the Grove and still be legally compliant without upsetting the other equilibriums and without diminishing anything from District 5. And so just a couple questions, if you could all bear with me. What is the total number goal to shed from District 2 to get to full equilibrium, where District 2 is not in any overage? What would be 0%? How many would you need to get rid
I
of?
figure each percentage is 884 roughly, 5 times 8, 40, about 4,800.
Would you rather speak in percentage? Is that the way you've been
Either
working
way, you're looking at about 4,800 residents. I think it was 4,832, but I'm 63 years old, so sometimes I forget some numbers, but I think that's the number.
You might be misunderstanding me. What is the total number that your goal was to reduce District 2 by?
To get you from where you are
Yes.
at 5.46 back to 0, it would be about 4,800 and change that I would have to shed.
I'm not understanding, because even just in the Golden Pines area, we're taking 10,000 out, right?
Oh, you're talking about the
27
existing
it's
District 2.
27,000.
I'm sorry.
Yes, that's
It's
the number I'm trying to
27,000
get to.
plus.
The existing
27,000
District
plus.
2 is a little north of 28,000.
Yeah.
28,000.
I thought you were talking, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about this plan.
The growth, no, you know, I was from where we are, current status quo,
Yes, sir.
28,000 would come down. So I've got a draft map here, and I don't know if the camera can pick it up for our residents to see it at home. Is that possible? Because I can move it if not.
Or you could move it here forward if you want.
Whatever works best. Thank you. Can the camera pick that up? Is it visible? Are the lines visible? I know you know it, Mr. DeGrande, because I showed it to you. So basically, there's 3 sections being given to 3 different districts. There's a section here in Golden Pines, north of US 1, given to District 4. There's a section here on South Miami Avenue being given to District 3. And then there's a section of downtown, above the river, downtown, Morningside, not Morningside, downtown, Midtown, and Edgewater being given to District 5. Can you tell me how many more or less residents would be coming out of District 2 and going to District 4 in the section above US 1?
If memory serves, 10,498.
Let me write it down. 10,000, just 10,500 for round number's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roughly.
And then for District 3, if we were to say from the river down to the Rickenbacker Causeway or down to 32nd, what is about that number?
If it's down to 32nd, which was the one that you asked me to calculate, you're looking at 7,068 individuals.
7,068. I'll just put 7,000 for round number's sake to District 3. And then north of the river, I matched your draft exactly.
Correct.
And so what would the number be that would come out of District 2 into District 5?
That was roughly also 10,500.
10,500. So that gives 28,000 on the nose. If I were to add 10,500, 7,000 plus 10,500, I believe my math gets me to 28,000 exactly. Is that?
Again, as I told you this morning, because of when I got it, I didn't have the.
I know it's not exact.
I didn't have the luxury of being able to go into the map and give you an exact. However, quick and dirty, your deviation would come down to less than 1%. 1%
above or below?
Below.
Below, so I would actually go.
No, excuse me. You would be, let me see, 8.4, hold on. 0.94 below.
Right, so just about 1% below. So if that were the case, if I instead of cutting off at 32nd, let's say I cut off at Rickenbacker instead, so that even that section of the Grove were to stay in, it would be right around 0%, where what is the current in your draft? You have an overage in District 2 still of
5.46.
5.46. So the concerns of future growth in District 2 brought by Commissioner Diaz-Labortilla perhaps could be allayed by going all the way to a 0 to where District 2 is not the most populous in the city. So if we were to do that, obviously it wouldn't damage any of the vulnerable voter population in District 5. What would it do to District 3 and District 4?
To District 3, hold on one second. Well, District 4 is at negative 2%. You would be taking out an additional 1.8, so it would be roughly 3.8% under.
District 4.
District 4.
Right. And I anticipate a lot of growth based on RTZ at 37th and at 47th, but that's nothing we can consider concretely. It would be a little bit under. And District 4, or I'm sorry, District 3?
District 3 is currently at 0.92 under. You would be taking out an additional 1.57, and so that would put it at roughly negative 2.5. If you were then to add that entire area that you wanted to add, that would bring that district up to a positive 5.4.
Got it. And there is already a section of West Brickell in District 3. Everything east of I-95, I don't know if the neighborhood is named officially, but there's a section between District 2 and I-95 that already belongs in District 3, correct. In your current draft, the latest draft that you've proffered, how many African Americans are removed from the Grove or from District 2 in that triangle? Do you have a number?
From the north of US 1, the Douglas Park area, I believe it
No,
was.
no, in.
Well, I'm trying
in
to
your-
tell you all of them.
In your current draft. Your current
Right,
draft
right.
already gives that away, but, go ahead, I don't mean to interrupt,
Right,
go ahead.
right. In the current draft, you have, oh yeah, that's here. Okay, if you're looking at south of US 1, in the current draft, you have, in the movement that goes into D4, you have 114, and in the movement that goes into D3, you have 38.
Got it.
And what's the total? Oh, I mean, I'm sorry. What's the total? African Americans
Plus 38.
in the city, in that area?
I'll go to you in math. 114 plus 38.
No. How many additional people go into District 2? So 114 go into District 4, 38 go into District 3.
Right.
How many remain in District 2? African Americans?
Oh, in District 2, it's still 7.5% African
No,
American.
numbers. 338?
It's 5,000.
No, in that area, in the West Grove.
Oh, that I don't have the data.
But you gave the number the other day. Didn't you?
492.
I'm sorry. 492, I'm sorry, yes, that's the number. So 114, 30,
Chair, Mr. DeGrande, I do need your comments on the mic.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to, it's
Mr.
important.
DeGrant.
No, I want to know as well,
The
thank you.
number of the black population of the Grove in the city of Miami is 2,647.
That's total. How many of those are African American? How many are Hispanic? How many are Anglo? Of those 2,500 you said right now?
No.
Okay.
Let me make sure I understand. You asked me how many African Americans in the Grove?
In District 2 in the West Grove.
I have the figure for the entire Grove. I don't have the figure for the
My
West.
understanding, Madam Chair, was that when he gave us a breakdown of the West Grove, that there were 2,500 plus whites, 1,900 Hispanics, and 492.
492 is
African
what I
American.
remember, but let's let Commissioner Russell
I'm
finish.
sorry,
No, this is fair, these
No,
are the exact questions I have as
We're
well,
actually
so.
working together on the same thing
Oh.
here.
I
But we're
think,
doing it publicly.
I think
right?
Commissioner-
It happens every once in a while.
I see.
I think, Commissioner, you may have been referring to the number, the demographics of the original that we moved from D2 to D4,
Correct.
which was 5,071 people. And of those, I had given you ethnic breakdowns, but I do not recall giving you ethnic breakdowns just for the West Grove. It was for the total Grove, correct? Yeah.
So you have no breakdown? The West Grove, I mean, Madam Chair, the West Grove today, as you define it, what are the boundaries of the West Grove as you defined it in your analysis?
We actually did not define it. We looked at the
Oh.
entire Grove. Perhaps Commissioner Russell can give you a definition of what West Grove is.
The definition of the West Grove really is, well, the NCD plus, if you take McDonald, I don't have the number, so I could give you the boundary. But really, from McDonald, from US 1 down McDonald and Grand, I'm sorry, and even below Grand to Franklin West. So Franklin at the southern border, US 1 at the northern border, McDonald on the eastern border, and
Commissioner Russell,
Brooker on the western border. That's the traditional definition of the West Grove. My question is in the triangle from Bird Avenue to 27th and US 1, that triangle. US 1, 27th, Bird Avenue. How many African Americans are in that triangle?
114.
That's what I thought you'd said, okay. And potentially, that's a quarter of the 492 that we all recall hearing from.
Right.
In the
of
first
African Americans.
iteration, it was 497 when we went down to Day Avenue.
Right. So it doesn't seem like a lot of people, but when you put it in percentage of the final remaining group of African Americans that are there, and boy, are they fighting to stay there, they want a cohesive voice. In my draft, how many African Americans would be removed from the Grove?
From, if you If you define the Grove as south of
US
32nd Road where you made your cut, zero.
Zero. And so I think that's the case I'm trying to make. I really would like to try to preserve the African-American community together as a whole as much as possible south of US 1, and the entire Grove came out to advocate not just for them, but for the Grove as a whole. So my hope in your further analysis, because I'm not ready to vote, and I do have community meetings coming up where they're saying, is there a way? I would like to have made the case today that there is a way that not only is legally, it's safe from challenge, as you feel yours is now, it won't get challenged, where yours currently will get challenged and it'll drag us out. But not only that, I believe it achieves even better numbers, because 0 African Americans would be removed from the Grove. You would actually bring District 2 down from a 5% above deviation to a flat 0, potentially. And a neighborhood conservation district, which is currently, NCD 3, is currently all within 1 representative commissioner, would not turn into 3 commissioners within 1. And the definition of an NCD, it intends to conserve neighborhoods with a sense of uniqueness of Coconut Grove that is manifest to its historic legacy, architectural variety, cultural diversity, natural aesthetic, walkable character, access to the water, with a concentration on the canopy and affordable housing. That's from the City of Miami website. NCD 3 currently has 1 commissioner representing it with 1 overlay for the code versus 3. And it's not about having more representation championing you. It's actually about perhaps having 1 voice that fights for 1 version of that code, where 3 commissioners may or may not ever agree. But we get along and we do it. So I'm not saying neighborhoods can't or shouldn't be broken up. If we can be cohesive, I feel we should make that effort. If we can normalize more to equilibrium, I think we should do that. And if we can keep more of an African-American community together, I think we should do that as well. So I would just hope you're able to take that into consideration as you move forward into the community meetings and the final draft that we vote on March 11th. Thank you very much. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes?
Okay, I heard what every commissioner had to say. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer it, which is my main concern. My main concern, and I have made this very perfectly clear since the time that the districts were created, and I remember very well because I was part of a group that was headed by Arthur Range, Bill Perry Sr., and Matt Aker from Coconut Grove, from Overtown, that we knew that it was necessary and imminent that districts were created. Even J.L. Plummer's seat was in danger for the next election, and that's why they were created. It was created, and I said in my prayer this morning that everyone would be represented. And that is my commitment. Commitment is that everyone be represented. According to all the movement that you have done of population and the way that the Afro-American district and the so-called Anglo district will stand time, the next 10 years, for the next 10 years, given the movement of population that we are going to experience, we there stand the test of time, and we will be able, over the probability of electing an Afro-American and an Anglo, you are confident that it is very probable that we are, because nothing is sure but death and taxes, but it is very probable that we will continue to have a mixed commission, which is my main concern.
To answer your question, Commissioner, we have done our level best to ensure that District 5 performs for the African American community and that they will continue throughout the decade to have the ability to elect a candidate of their choice. As to District 2, as I said in my report, District 2 is a competitive district. It actually has a greater percentage of Hispanics than of single-race white individuals, as was self-identified by in the census. It is my belief that that 48% will continue to grow. So
Well, there is
it's going to be
been
very
probable.
competitive.
It's competitive, but there's still the probability is high.
Yes.
Okay, that's what, I mean, as I said before, nothing is, nothing is sure, you see. And that is my main concern. And I want to send this message to everybody that is saying, well, you are taking this piece of Coconut Grove and it's not Coconut Grove anymore. It is Coconut Grove. You see, I've been living in Flagami since the end of '69. And when I moved to Flagami, Flagami was, just a whole neighborhood with their own characteristics, their own neighbors and all of that. When it was divided in two different districts, still is Flagami. Still Flagami. My neighbors are still my neighbors that live in Flagami. And Commissioner Diaz de la Portilla, as well as myself, we all care for Flagami. And we have projects, and we work projects together that is going to benefit Flagami. Same thing with Shenandoah. My colleague, Commissioner Carollo, he represents part of Shenandoah. So do I. You see, when we were deciding to redo the park and the pool, which is now under construction, and then there is a major development there, every single community meeting, we have Carollo's constituents, as well as my constituents, come to the community meetings and deciding what we were going to do in that pool, in that park. And they were active participants on what we were going to do and how we're going to do, and their opinion and their input was taken into consideration. You see? By being, that sliver that from Coconut Grove that, it is going to assign to me, it's not because I'm asking for it and I don't want to get a part of Coconut Grove or anything, you see. But I will represent it just as I represent my district. And that sliver is not going to be geographically transported to at the end of Flagami, as some people are saying. We are not in Coconut Grove. You are in Coconut Grove. Nobody's moving from Coconut Grove. I heard a gentleman here said, my daughter goes to Coconut Grove School. Nothing's going to change. You're going to still be going there. The only thing that when you have constituent services that you want, do you have any problem, you can come to your commissioner, and that's it. You see, maybe you could get even faster services than what you're doing now. Getting that? I don't know, nothing, no pun intended, Mr. Rosso. But what I'm saying is geographically, you're going to be in the same place. Every one of us is very concerned about serving, about doing the best for the district that we represent. So it's not a transplantation of geographical transportation of where your house is. It's going to be now in a different area. It's still going to be in Coconut Grove. There's still going to be Gumbay, which I proposed and I think it's going to be, and you're going to be part of it. We're still going to have that just happened, we have the art festival, you see? And it's going to be Coconut Grove. You're going to still be walking probably to Flanagan if you live next to it. You're still in Coconut Grove. You see, what I'm trying to say is that just as other communities were divided, because we all agree that we have to preserve a seat that will represent every single community of the city of Miami. See, every single neighborhood was divided. And we all accepted it. We all accepted it. And if you have to further divide Flagami, which is my neighborhood, in order for us, give it to somebody else, in order for us to have the composition of the district, of the government of the city of Miami, what every single community is represented, I will accept it. So this is the only way, according to you, that we can, with all the data and the statistics that you have done, that we can preserve those seats now?
No, sir. As I said, there are thousands of ways to do a plan, but this plan is based on your criteria.
And the criteria is to preserve those seats.
To preserve the core of existing districts and the configuration of
Okay.
population wherever possible.
Okay, and I heard people, no, gerrymandering. Yes, we are gerrymandering to preserve those seats. And that's it. And if you want to take us to court for it, I'll get it.
That actually wouldn't be called gerrymandering.
Well, that's why some of the,
Yeah, but that's a traditional redistricting principle
Okay.
that is accepted when drawing districts.
Based on that principle, I'm ready to vote.
Thank you. Well, I've heard the comments from my colleagues, and I echo Commissioner Russell's sentiment. I'm not ready to vote on this. And I would like for you, Mr. DeGrande, to take into consideration what Commissioner Russell has presented. I would also like to see a map of the existing districts and then an overlay of what you are doing, and then maybe an overlay of what Commissioner Russell has proposed. We still have time. We have until March 11th, is what we all agreed upon, to take a look, take another look. Commissioner Russell is having a community meeting next week, you said. I had mine this week, but perhaps once you give us that additional information, I may have some more questions or some more comments. I want to make sure that our community has significant input in what is happening with the redistricting. So I'm not ready to make a vote today. I will be ready on March 11th because I think we have gotten very far in this process. Would you agree?
I appreciate it.
We have gotten pretty far in this process, but I think we need to, at least I would like to look at it one more time, look at what's happening with my district and see if we can be a little more accommodating to Commissioner Russell's district.
If I may, Madam Chair.
And I'm not sure because Commissioner Russell just presented this with his calculations, like would that upset the balance in my district? Would it take me from 52 to less or more?
Wouldn't impact your district.
It wouldn't impact my
Commissioner
district.
Russell's
Okay.
proposal wouldn't impact
He
your
has, so what you propose for my district is what Commissioner Russell is proposing.
That's right.
But my colleagues, they may have some comments about that, but today, I'm not ready to move forward with the vote. And I'd like to give Commissioner Russell the opportunity to meet with his constituency and to discuss this and to see where we are. And if there's no further comment, I see
Well,
Commissioner.
no.
Just, hold
do.
on a second. I want to inform you that I'm having a community meeting also.
Okay,
And we're having a community meeting. I believe that if we vote, and it doesn't mean that it will be cast in stone, you see?
Correct.
That is not, it wouldn't be cast in stone. There is a little tweak here, a tweak there. We will be able to accept it. But we are, basically what we're doing in accepting the plan, if it is gonna be tweaked, you see, in one way or the other, we are open to it. But,
And Madam Chair, there's an mandatory process that we can do when we, for our next meeting, that we can change here and there, a tweak, like Commissioner Reyes said. But I'm ready to move forward. I think the plan is a good plan. I hate to disagree with my chair. I think
It's
that
okay.
we should not be changing to accommodate one commissioner or a group of actors that showed up
We're
here.
not, we're not,
Well,
we're not
no,
changing.
no, no, no. Whoa,
Let me,
whoa.
let
No,
me,
it's
we're
a
not
certain
changing to accommodate one
The-
commissioner.
the-
I'm not ready either.
I know, that's why we accept the plan, and we can tweak and come back and accept amendments moving forward, but we need to have a base plan to move forward. I think that we run into a dangerous area if we begin to look at streets and avenues and say, well, one avenue here, one street there, it creates problems. It's very clear here what's happening. There's a group of activists from Coconut Grove that don't want to be part of Miami for some reason. Yes, you can film me. That don't want to be part of Miami for some reason. And they say that Coconut Grove is a unique neighborhood. To me, that's disrespectful of other unique neighborhoods, like Flagami, Alapado, Little Havana, Overtown, Liberty City. That's disrespectful, right? We have a right, and other neighborhoods have a right to say they're unique also. But no one came here, as Commissioner Carroyo went through a list of who spoke today. It was only from Commissioner Russell's district, from Coconut Grove, actually, not even from your district, by the way. It was from Coconut Grove, very active, but part of your district. You have all of downtown Miami, you have Edgewater, Morningside, and everything else going north. So to me, if we continue to go back and forth about, hey, let's change this avenue, let's include this neighborhood, there's no argument here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. DeGrande, that we have to cross US 1. US 1 is not a sacred boundary that somebody created. Like I-95 isn't either, by the way, like others aren't either, right? We already at this juncture, your plan today, you're overpopulating District 2 to accommodate Mr. Russell, to accommodate the residents that have come before us. You have to take into account that there's over 50% change from the first plan to the revised plan and keeping the growth together as much as possible. But we've all had to accept over decades the division of traditional neighborhoods in the city of Miami. We've accepted it. No, you don't need to scream here. We've accepted it, right? All of a sudden, we can accept the division of Flagami and Alapata and Little Havana and Overtown and other parts. You accept the division of Overtown, right?
I did not accept that.
No, but I mean,
I had to accept it. I
you
did
had
not
to accept it because in politics and in governing, we compromise and we give and we take. It can't be taking and taking all the time.
I understand, and what I'm saying is,
What I want to do,
but he's presenting this. He has presented it, or maybe I'm misunderstanding because a vote today would make this your plan final, and that's not what I'm ready to do.
No,
we can tweak it.
No, we can tweak it.
And we will respect.
Excuse me, what I'm saying is, let me say, I don't have any argument against if there is, a formula that I could take that sliver of Coconut Grove out of my district and either, I will lose that population or it is replaced with someplace else, which wouldn't want to. So I don't have anything. If that is possible, I'm welcoming it. It doesn't mean that this is cast in stone.
Right. I think that we pass this today.
Yes.
And we have a time to come back and have the conversations and say, hey, let's do a little tweak here, a little tweak there. That works for me. I have no problem with that.
And let's take it to-
Maybe Mr. DeGrande can help us. Mr. DeGrande can help us.
Okay.
And is that possible?
If I can, what I'd like to say is this. We're supposed to, based on your direction, to present a final plan on March 11th.
Right.
I had thought that today's meeting was for you all to tell me, that's fine, this is the final plan, or give me an amendment. What I don't want to do is, I don't want to make any changes as a result of any of your community meetings, because that is not the consensus of this commission. If this commission tells me, I want you to change this, I can do it, and I could tell you, this is going to be the effect. Do you want me to proceed? But if you don't give me direction today as to any amendments, I'm presenting this plan on March 11th as the final plan, because I have no direction to do otherwise.
Madam
Vice
Chair?
Chair,
This is really the process that we set up to follow, that should be followed. This meeting today was set up so that we could see what he's presented to us. If we wanted to make, as a body, some additional tweaks in it, make it. But to give him at least either the go-ahead and the original plan or one with some tweaks, so that could be the one that we have agreed upon to bring to our different districts for the people to see as the potential final map. Then March 11 is when we vote upon it or make any last tweaks, but March 11, we have a vote. What I'm not going to be in favor of is to play the game of the tactics of delay, 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 delay. If we need to meet another meeting before March 11th, I'll be happy to. I'm meeting in my district meeting March the 2nd. I don't know when some of the others are having theirs.
Monday.
To get any feedback.
March 3rd.
Third, second also,
Third.
third, Madam Chair.
I had mine on
You had yours
Wednesday.
already. And Commissioner Russell, you're having yours
Because I
when?
thought we were supposed to do it before we came to this meeting.
Monday, the 28th for me.
The 28th.
If
Okay,
I
so
may, Commissioner
you could have another
Diaz-Portillo,
if you like.
I wasn't aware of your meeting. He's got one on March 3rd, and I can't be at two places at once.
We can change the time.
Victoria,
Or you could change the times.
let me just get a
I can
clarification.
change it. We can
Or
do
you
it
could
March-
advertise it and have a joint meeting.
Yeah, we could do that too, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I guess I'm thinking the same thing, but we're saying it differently because I thought the plan that you proposed and gave it to us on Tuesday, close of business Tuesday, that is this plan, and that is the plan that we were taking to our community. So is that what I'm voting on today? That we take this plan to the community? Because that's
Exactly.
what we
Yes.
did.
Exactly.
And the
That-
community will
that's-
give us input
Yeah.
into what they don't like about
But
it.
it is not the final plan.
No.
It is
March
not-
11.
March
is the
11, the
final.
final plan. So we vote on this, we pass it, we take it to our community, and then they'll give us input and we can amend it. And do a mandatory
Okay,
process,
that's-
right?
What-
that
what
is
it-
what I did
What
on-
it is, Chair, is a resolution approving the recommendations
Right,
of our experts
correct.
to bring this plan, or any tweaks that we might finally want to make here, to the community for additional input before we vote for the final plan on March 11th.
Correct.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions for Mr. DeGrande before we move. It sounds like we're going toward a vote. Is there a part of the draft that I've proposed that violates the direction that's been given to you by this body?
Is there, that violates the.
So you've been acting under very specific criteria given to you by this body.
Sure.
Does this offend that criteria?
It does not.
Does this violate any legal standards that we have to go by?
It gets you to very close to 10%, but not over. It takes you
Understood.
just
The
under
deviation.
10%.
And the other question had to do with logistics within, when you redraw lines, the logistics of precincts and when they vote and where they have to go and the convenience. I would assume there are some aspirations to make it as least confusing as possible for voters and have them go the least distance to vote. And with US 1 as the boundary, you've got a very clean area of residents who all know where their precincts are. They're all within walking distance. If we take two parts of the Grove that are below US 1 and add them to separate districts, is there a chance where residents will have to be crossing US 1 to find their precinct?
Nope.
Well,
Or would you have to put a new
the
precinct south of US 1?
supervisor of elections is actually going to go through a re-precincting process.
Yes.
Once she gets the map from Congress, state, House, county, and us, they redesign the precincts. So a gentleman or lady that may have been going to the same precinct for 10 years may not be going, regardless of whether our lines change or not. It's really somewhat out of our control.
Thank you. That's all I needed to know. So the last thing I'll just say is from your answers just now, we have a legal criteria to meet, and then there's a policy decision to make, and that's the way you've taught me over these last few weeks.
Yes, sir.
This is driven. And both plans satisfy the legal and satisfy the policy direction you've been given. From here forward, it's up to us as a body on what policy we want to take in terms of where those lines are drawn. Now, every other district is gaining, is growing. The District 2 is the one that's getting diminished. And that's why, and it has to, legally. And it's not necessarily a negative, but that's why I'm trying to be at the table on where it gets diminished. And Javi Gonzalez, who had ran against me in the race, I remember it was a question at a debate once, redistricting's coming, which part of your district would you give up? And at the time, it was a surprise question for me. It's like asking you which is your favorite child, you know? You take it a bit personally because you've served that district, but I want to take the personalities out of it. It isn't about us and who serves what area. It's not about me or my district. It's simply about seeing a consistent representation, and this is a draft I'd like to propose to all of you and hope it gets consideration. Thank you.
Madam Chair, let me ask you, where you are going to vote, your precinct is not based only on where you're going to vote, the precinct that you're going, it's not based on what district you are, it's based on more.
It's somewhat because.
Somewhat, but it is within the area.
Yeah, the supervisor elections.
Where you live.
Yeah, the supervisor elections is actually going to re-precinct.
That's right.
The county. So those precincts can
And
change.
it's more based on where you are, your place of residence and all of that. Because sometimes you have a precinct that have 2 and 3 different, you have a locale, a place that 2 or 3 different precincts vote in the same place.
Correct.
Mr. DeGrande, I'd like to be clear. I would like to see a map of the existing districts and an overlay of what you have proposed. How soon can you get that to this body?
Which is the one with the separate movements.
I think it should be.
That's
We should
simple.
have-
That's simple.
The answer is, we can give you that without a problem. Depends on how you want it. If you want it for us to send it to you electronically, we actually have in the database a map that shows all the movements. So we could send you that. If you want it in a big map like that, it's going to take a few days to get produced.
I want it in both. We can get both.
I'm visual, and your map is very confusing to me because I see what you're doing, but I can't see it
Right.
in comparison to what we have. So I'd like to see what we have, and then on top of that, I'd like an
Madam
overlay
Chair,
so that I can.
Madam Chairman, what I would love to see, because you're a lot younger than I am.
I am not
Much
actually.
younger. But I remember we have a map like this one, right? And then you have a little vinyl thing on top of it that has a new map, right? And then you can see the little lines, how it changes. That's what I like.
That's what I wanna
Everybody
see
likes
as
this
well.
phone thing, but you know what? I'm too old for that.
Right,
So, you know,
that's what I want to see as
and
well.
so are you, by the way, Mr. DeGrande. Okay? So let's go old school here and just give us something simple so we can understand it, okay? This is what you're changing, and give us that in the next couple of days, and I think everybody will be happy.
And I'd like-
Our Madam Chair here is very young, but you're a little bit old school, I think, anyway, right? So we'll do it that way.
Miguel's about to ask for a raise.
So I would like to see that as quickly as we can get it. And I
agree.
also want to confirm with the city attorney that any action we take today is not a final action, because I am clear that I may have a tweak or two for you from my district.
Okay.
So that depends on how you pass the motion, so.
The motion, as I understand it, is just to accept what he is providing to us today so we can take it to our community so they can have an input in it.
That's fine.
Then I
That
would
works.
suggest, Chairwoman, and let's see what he might, Miguel, you both need to hear this. The chairwoman is saying that she might need a tweak or two, small, on her district. I want to make sure that we have our final vote March 11th. So if you're going to have that final tweak, either we should have another meeting before March 11th, or we will provide to you all final tweaks by a certain date that we choose here. So you have them beforehand, and you come with this plan and the one with the final tweaks on that date.
And Madam Chair, I have no final tweaks from my perspective. I don't know if the other commissioners don't.
I have two.
Yeah.
Well,
Let me,
that's a different debate, but we're talking about the chairwoman. If you could present your final tweaks to him, right? In a private meeting, you cannot?
well, here's the why. If, say, for example, I have 2 or 3 commissioners that give me tweaks. So I'm.
That's not what I said.
No. I understand what you're saying. I'm responding to Commissioner Carollo.
Okay.
I now have to do 4 separate maps.
I
Each
understand.
one is in a vacuum.
Of
So
course.
if ultimately there's well, I like Commissioner Diaz-El-Portillo's and Carollo's change, but not Reyes, then
No, that's what I'm saying.
it can't be put together.
No. The Madam Chair is gonna give you some changes he wants. You'll present that to us. And you'll adjust other parts according to that, right? And most of the adjustment at the end of the day is gonna come out of Commissioner, District 2, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, Commissioner Russell, District 2 is the overpopulated district by 28,000.
Yep.
That's where the votes have to come from. There's no way around that. You can't go around that. Everybody here is underpopulated. No, you can do whatever you want, but you can't, no, the math doesn't work. You have to take it from yours. If you don't like it,
We can
too
multiply.
bad. You know, the fact of the matter is that you cannot have one commissioner representing more people than other commissioners.
Well, I
That's the way
just
it
want to
works.
get this done so I could,
So
we
I
need-
I could at least bring to a part of Coconut Grove a peacock sanctuary like we used to have.
And
And nobody messes with the peacocks?
Here's,
Just like in India, they don't mess with the cows?
Joe, in the section you're getting, nobody wants peacocks.
So do I have a motion?
here's
I
my
have a motion.
suggestion.
I promise
Not
I'll
a
make the
single
motion.
person here from that section.
Here's
I
my
should tell you
suggestion
something.
before you do a motion, you can accept it or not.
Save the peacocks.
You have your public hearings, you get whatever input, you decide whether you want changes or not. We have a meeting on March 11th. This is the base plan. At that time, you tell me, based on, my community input, I want this change.
Right.
If the commission votes for that change, we take a recess. We get on our computer,
You change it and you.
15 minutes later, we come back and
And
tell
we
you,
pass it the same day.
and
we're
tell
good to
you
go.
this is
Yes.
the impact
Yes.
of the
So-
change.
that'll be I think our city attorney made the motion, right, worded the motion. No, you can't make it, but you worded it.
The chair worded it nicely.
No,
The chair worded it. Oh, you want me to say it again?
yes, right?
Yeah.
And I'll make it.
Say
Well,
it.
no, I gave that resolution for what we need to move forward today. What the chair said, that she might have a tweak or two,
Right?
and I think that's why I brought this out to DeGrande, because he's the one who's got to do the work. He's suggesting that we could do it all in one day.
Yes.
So the only thing that I'm going to ask is that we have the meeting on the 11th earlier, like 10:30, so that if we got to work until late that day,
That works.
we do it. Well,
Yes.
it's-
Remember
it's
that,
weeks.
I just want to remind everybody about the 11th date. The 11th date is if you want to vote on these districts.
Yes.
Newly shaped districts.
Yes.
That's what we voted upon
Yes.
already, Madam City Attorney.
That's what
But
we.
there's
Madam
no
City
election
Attorney,
in
we
2020.
voted upon that already.
Already.
Okay.
And
I
this is
just wanted to
established on that
remind,
date.
right, I wanted to
Thank you.
remind you.
We understand.
Yes.
I think we're overcomplicating it. I think we
Yes.
vote this out as a base plan.
Yes, and
With tweaks.
to what Victoria is trying to say to us, if on the 11th we don't have a consensus, and I don't think that
We
would be
come
the
back.
case, we will make other,
But this is why
Right.
I've been very clear that as far as I'm concerned, March 11 is a red line, because I know the game that some want to play, and they're going to keep this
Correct.
going and going and going. and it's gonna
Correct.
be
And,
never
and,
ending.
and,
Well, we're
and
not
Mr.
going to do
DeGrande,
that.
Mr. DeGrande has been, if I may, Madam Chair, Mr. DeGrande has made an argument to me today in my office that beyond that, it could cost us money. You made the argument, Madam Chair, that you don't care, and I agree.
I do not.
As long as we get it right, and I agree, as long as we get it right. But I think the goal is, and I agree with Commissioner Carollo, that the goal is March 11th, because you know what? You're right, the games are being played. The activists are coming out. They're being.
Well, no,
Wait.
wait, no, stop. That's inflammatory.
No, it's not inflammatory,
language.
it's
Yes, it is,
correct.
because they're not actors.
No, activists.
What?
Activists.
Okay,
Not
they are,
actors,
but they are
activists.
advocating on behalf of their community, and
Correct.
that is their right, and this is, we live in
I
a
know,
democracy.
I know, and I agree, but we need to, we have to have finality
You know
here.
what, I
I agree
agree
with
with
that.
that, and if it's kept to that,
Date,
I'm all in favor of spending all the time that we need to.
I agree.
Between now and March 11th, to hear as many times
even a special
as
meeting. we have
people
to-
want. My problem is, Chair, and I wasn't going to go there, is the following. And this is starting to bother me because I'm seeing the false flag being thrown out, so I won't call it something else that might be more politically incorrect. It started the last time with trying to incite the West Grove to come here. We took care of that from this day as the last meeting. And Mr. DeGrande went ahead and did what we asked him. We said, and we all agreed, to cut it off at Bird Avenue, and if he needed to go across 27th into the North Grove. He did just that. He only included on District 4 the other side, this small triangle where McDonald's is on Bird Avenue that you go down from Flanagan's down to US 1. And I'm hearing, and this day is today now, that, well, how many blacks did we take out of there? We took 114, 117. We're diluting. I mean, this is absurd. I mean, you throw arguments at me that are sound, and I'll listen, and I'll support you. But when you're throwing arguments that will go down in quicksand quicker than you can say quick, and are absurd, and they're being used as a false flag to try to instigate another type of discord. This is where I draw the line. I say enough with this BS. That people want to keep the grove together, they have a right to do that. I understand that. I understand that. But don't throw another argument into it that's got nothing to do with it whatsoever. And that's the problem that I've been having. And look, I know most of the people that were here today, they truly, mean what they're saying. And I understand that. But I've also explained all the other communities in the city, and we tried to do that for several decades since we had districts. But it's come to the point now, the third time around, that, or it's just the fourth?
This is the fourth public
Fourth,
hearing.
the fourth time around, that
This is the fourth public hearing on redistricting.
Yeah, I don't mean on public hearings, since we've done redistricting from the original one. The original one was in 90.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the third.
7, on the election that we had, and so it's gotten to the point that we can't keep all of the Grove as one any longer. We started in past redistricting in cutting from the north. We have no way to go, because if we go the way that Commissioner Russell wants, to throw District 3 into Brickell, that's truly going to change the whole component of one district, and it's going to create a domino effect that is going to change the composition of the other districts. And this is why we haven't gone that way. You understood that, and you stated it here. It's up to us to tell you which way we want to go. It's up to you to tell us what's legal and what's not.
Yes, sir.
And then draw it. Do we have 1,000, 2,000 ways of maybe doing it? Yeah. We could, be here for the next 10 years and not accomplish a single vote looking at different plans. But this is a sound vote, and that's what I wanted to hear, that will pass the legal muster, that we're going to be sued. Hey, listen, I've seen some of these ambulance chasers come here, more than for this here. They're going to keep coming back. If it's not for this, it'll be for something else, because these are the losers that can't make a living as a real attorney, and they got to be out there seeing what they could grab as an ambulance chaser. And that's, that's the, part of life that you can't change. So I'm not concerned with, the threats of lawsuits. It's how you end up at the end with the lawsuit. And that's why I asked you that question, because, Miguel, you're truly the expert in this. So.
Okay, I think we're ready. So could you, Victoria, read the resolution?
A resolution of the Miami City Commission approving the draft of the redistricting plan presented at the February 25th Special Commission meeting to be shared and discussed with the community stakeholders, and bring back the redistricting plan and discuss it at the March 11 Special Commission meeting and present any changes at that time.
Do I have a mo?
For a final vote.
Moved, yeah. For a final vote.
For a final vote.
I'll move that.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay.
You don't want to say the peacocks either, right?
Okay, so to be clear, Madam Chair, we will not be making any changes from now until the 11th. In the 11th, you direct us to make whatever changes.
After our meetings and our public meetings and our
But we're
conversations.
free to meet with you after our meetings to say these
Right.
are some tweaks that we want,
Correct.
et
Sure.
cetera, et cetera.
But I'm not going to present any changes on March 11th. You all are going to tell me on March 11th, here's what I want to change.
Correct.
And you'll do
And
an
you can do
aside,
it.
Madam Chair.
Excuse me?
And you can do it on March 11th.
Yes, we're just going to have to take breaks
Yeah.
as we go through it in the computer.
What time
But it's
have
probably the
we-
most efficient way to do it.
What time had we agreed to have met on March 11th? Was there a time that we?
City Clerk?
Yes, sir. 10 a.m. on March 11th.
Okay, we're good then.
Okay.
And then if, I just wanted to confirm based on a request that I think I heard, but I would love to see if possible. Could you do those overlays, like what is now and what your plan is,
No,
I don't know that we could do it with transparency, but.
Why not?
No, no,
Hold
What I can do
hold on a second, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Why not?
How much are we paying?
Why not?
Because I'm not as technologically
The
proficient as
GIS
you,
But
Commissioner.
Cody can do it. Cody
Yeah,
can do
the
it.
GIS, you could do it with GIS maps.
But here-
Staples can do it.
Yeah, here's what I could do. We can have a plan that has a configuration of the districts, and every change,
A
No,
little
I want
vinyl,
it
we
with
want a
because I wanna
vinyl
be able
thing
to
in
take it
front.
off and-
A vinyl thing in front that has
Yes.
to change.
all right, Steve, that's your
Can you
job.
do it, Steve? You got a JD, you can do it,
Sooner than
right?
later, I'd like
And
to
I
have
thought
it.
I had the easy part of this relationship.
No interns at home?
Yeah, I can do that. Do you want just one plan to look at? Or if you want 5 copies of that,
5.
5.
that's going to take me, that's not something I can do overnight.
No, it's not overnight.
I've got to hand draw
You have like 2 weeks. You have
on the
like 2 weeks.
vinyl.
Yes, yes.
Staples will do it for you.
Yeah, you can do it. You're with Holland Knight, right?
No,
No, what company?
I'm with Holland Knight.
I'm sorry, he's not.
He's independent.
Oh, you're independent. I thought, okay, so Holland Knight doesn't have interns that can do all that? Draw the little lines and sharp?
Commissioner, do you literally need the vinyl? Or they could do it right here. They could put it on.
I want the vinyl. I want the
Because
vinyl.
it's easy to, and then we can draw on
For me, it is, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
easy.
Yeah, I
to-
want the vinyl.
Okay.
I moved that we get the vinyl.
We'll figure out
Is there
the
a
vinyl.
second to that?
We'll figure out the vinyl.
Yeah, the
Thank you.
vinyl.
I appreciate
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.